Hello and welcome to Pop Culture Shark, the live stream that's always on time. I'm Final Monkey.
And I'm late. I'm Caleb, and I setting up the stream yesterday. Opera GX was crashing on me, so um, I had to clear my cache and my cookies and clear my everything. It logged me out of everything, and it took me a while to figure out what all the logins were. So apologies for the tardiness, but as always, we are here for pop culture news and opinions. But before we get into all of that, as far as our favorite forgotten cartoons, which is what we'll be talking about today, let's get into our weekend check in. Um, have you been doing anything besides uh, looking at news about the person that we're not going to talk about today?
Uh, it's more or less like I was listening to conspiracy theory podcast, but yeah, like we said, we won't talk about that. I have been playing Legend of Zelda: Link's Awakening on Switch.
Oh,
And
the
remembering
remake.
and just remembering how much I love that game. It is so much fun. I'm about halfway through, and just little things are just hitting that nostalgia button. And I'm just like, oh yeah,
Uh,
yeah. This is good.
so
This is good.
Okay, because I haven't played the remake. I have played it, just on like the Game Boy
Hmm.
uh, Classic Switch thing that they got going on. Um, and that's a lot of fun. Have you played the Oracle game? You know what?
Yes,
I'm
I have.
sure. Okay. I need to go back and watch our Zelda show because that would have answered my question. I was about to ask you if you prefer those or Link's Awakening, but I could probably just go back and watch that and find out.
Link's Awakening. It just replaying Link's Awakening. I'm like, oh yeah, this is one of the great Zelda games. Great puzzles, great everything. It's just great NPC characters, just everything. And I love the music. I love the tragedy of the game. As you get towards the end,
Mhm.
it gets very
Yeah.
tragic. And I do have on my wall a pixel painting that someone did of
The
Marin and
Wind
Link
Waker.
sitting on the beach,
Oh, okay.
staring at the ocean. So yeah, this is one of my favorite games. So
Okay.
um,
So you're not playing like the original. You're not playing DX. You're playing like the remake that like Mercury Steam came out
yeah,
with. Okay, gotcha.
the Switch version, the claymation version. Yes.
Is Do you like it better than the original?
Um, I think so. Some of the music's a little wonky on there. Some of the because they kind of remixed some of the tunes, and then it's just sometimes I'm like, oh, that's an odd music choice. Um, but yeah, the controls are better because I think in the old game we had to like switch to shield anytime we wanted to use the shield, and
Yeah,
this one is just
you
the
switch to
R
shield and you have to
button,
hold B. Yeah.
and the running shoes are just the L button. So it's it's a lot more
It
options.
so it's Link's Awakening with Link to the Past controls.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And
Uh
you could go diagonal now instead of just up, down, left, right, and stuff. So
okay.
it's there's been some
Yeah.
improvements.
That's one I've been meaning to play because at this point I pretty much have every Zelda game that remake or otherwise that they've released on Switch except for that one. Uh,
Hmm.
I I even have Cadence of Hyrule, which is a lot of fun. Which is the Crypt of the Necro Dancer Zelda. Uh,
Right.
which is so I have pretty much every Zelda game except for that one. So I want to pick that one up. Uh,
Do you have crossbow training?
no, on the Switch. On the Switch.
Oh, on the Switch. Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Strictly on the Switch.
Okay.
No, I don't have crossbow training, but this is not like a joke or anything. I actually do love Link's crossbow training. uh,
Uh,
um,
so other than
uh,
Zelda, I've been reading Astro City and really digging that. So we'll be doing that show here in about 6 weeks or so. That'll be our
it,
March book
March,
culture
right?
show.
Mhm.
and we're reading through Astro City Metro Book One. Have you started it yet?
No, not yet. I was gonna wait
Okay.
until after we have the next show with Dan.
Okay. Um, I think you'll be confused a little when you start reading it because it's very much like slice of life at first of different characters, and the series is really about Astro City, and you slowly start to learn about every character that lives in Astro City. Like you'll see a character in the background, then 5 issues later they'll be telling that character's story and stuff, and so it starts building this
Mhm.
massive story. And a lot of the characters are archetypes of different Marvel or DC characters.
Have you read
So
Planetary?
I don't believe I have. Was that a Warren Ellis book?
I it, it's hard. I get Warren Ellis and Garth Ennis mixed up a lot. Let me see.
I don't think I've read that one. I've read quite a bit of Warren Ellis, but I don't know if I've read Planetary. Every time I
Uh,
say Planetary, I want to break out into Beastie Boys. Intergalactic Planetary. Planetary.
it was Warren Ellis. Okay, so I mean, just based on what you're describing, it reminds me of Planetary. A little bit. I have a feeling that Astro City is going to be a little bit more upbeat than Planetary is.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's apparently it does have like a dark story, like in Metro Book 3 or something, but I haven't read that far. I've only read probably
Okay.
like the first Metro book and maybe half of the second one.
Well,
So
Planetary. I believe Planetary has like the greatest ending to like not the greatest ending, but more like okay, we can stop writing comic books now. One of those endings because like, and honestly, it really isn't the biggest spoiler because it's not what the book's about. It just is how it happens to end. Um, but I mean, like it ends with like no more villainy, and so superheroes just kind of like help out with normal stuff and
sounds
makes
like
everyone's life easier.
what is it? Mark Millar has a book that's the opposite. Was it Wanted? I think is the one where the
Wanted,
villains
yeah,
won and they took
yep,
over the world and no one knows it. Yeah,
yep.
yeah. Okay.
Very, very, very similar. But yeah, kind of. I'm excited for Astro City though because like Planetary definitely has that new age comic book vibe. From what I've seen of Astro City, it really does look like Silver Age, and I'm excited to read that.
Yeah, it's kind of like, oh, why aren't they telling these stories of Superman or Spider Man or Captain America? And he's just telling really unique and interesting stories about very similar characters. So
Okay. So as far as myself, not a whole lot of not especially this month. There hasn't been a whole lot of pop culture for me, specifically because, and I can say this now because they accepted our offer. Cameron and I are done renting. Renting has been nice for a time, but it has gotten too expensive for a decent cost of living. So they accepted our offer yesterday. We have purchased a townhouse that we'll be moving into here in the next couple months. So
nice.
I know. I mean,
Yeah,
like,
renting is ridiculous. It used to be a good way to start out, and it's you just go ahead and buy a house. It's
yeah,
cheaper.
yeah. Well, and a lot of my friends are like, "Oh my God, you're the chosen one. You're the millennial. You're the Gen Zer who purchased. You're the one who purchased a house." So, thank you, Tripping Orc. We're really excited about it. But yeah, that's really what it's been because now we're just like my bed is stripped. We're not moving until like mid March because it's my grandparents on my dad's side that's helping us purchase, and so they're in Florida right now. So we have to wait till they get back in March to actually close. But we do have a good faith deposit, so we don't have to worry about that. And so it's just been a lot of cleaning around here, so that way we can get ready to move. Oh, you know what though? I did finish Reacher season 2. I like season 2, but season 1 is still better. And then my parents got me watching this Emmy award-winning show that it's this little known show called The Bear. It's great.
Is that one on
It-
FX or something? I think, or
Yeah. It's it reminds me a lot. So I used to watch Atlanta. I loved Atlanta with Donald Glover. And watching The Bear, I'm just like, oh, so this is Atlanta, but instead of rap, it's food. And
Gotcha.
so that's why my parents have had me start watching it. And you know, it's really good. It's TVMA. It's not a hard TVMA, so like you can, I guess like you can watch it with not like your kids, but you can, you know, let's say you can watch it with, you know, let's say you got like a 14-year-old, you know, they're not going to have
Yeah.
a problem with this. There's some it's FX, so I think FX can get it away with like an F word per season or something like that. I've never really understood broadcasting censorship, so
yeah, it's like you said the word. Okay, well, we're allowed one. Oh, okay. Well, I guess
Oh
the
my
kids
God.
won't repeat it then.
Oh no, that is the weirdest thing, because Atlanta on FX, I mean, it's rap, it's Brian Tyree Henry, it's Donald Glover. I mean, power to them, because it's, you know, it's their word, but they say the N word in
Yeah.
that show quite
Yeah.
a bit. And I'm like,
that's a whole nother conversation. Yeah.
it's not a conversation for us to have.
Right.
But my questioning is not about the word itself. It's more about like the censorship rules that I don't understand.
Yeah.
So, of course, it reminds me of John Mulaney, when he's like, you know, you can't put the word midget on TV. If you put the word midget on TV, there will be a protest of midgets on this street. And John Mulaney's like, do you promise?
Sean Mulaney's crazy.
Yeah. But yeah, as far as pop culture, that's really been like, I've been trying to do more reading. I definitely did more reading at the beginning of the month than I have recently, but that's because we've been going in harder on purchasing a home. So, and that's really what I'm hoping for, because right now where we're at is like, this is just kind of where we live. We've lived here for about 3 years, and this is where we live. I'd really like to make this next place a home, so I'm excited about that.
Cool. So what you got for news for us today?
So for news, you haven't seen the trailer for this, but it's not LucasArts, but Lucasfilm is involved. I think we're getting closer and closer to that LucasArts comeback. We do have a new Indiana Jones game. I just pointed at the screen, but then I'm like, oh wait, on the screen it's over here, so I'm gonna point this way at nothing, but it looks like I'm pointing at the poster. I'm still getting I like having my face here, but I'm still getting used to it. So we do have a new Indiana Jones game. At first, I was confused because this is a first-person game, and I never thought of an Indiana Jones as a first-person game. And you know, like, I think they show like one gun throughout the entire show, throughout the entire trailer, because you know, you got like first-person whip and first-person punching, so it looks kind of weird, and first-person puzzling, but when you find out who's developing it, you're like, okay, there's potential here. Machine Games with Bethesda is developing it. Now, I've made fun of Bethesda quite a bit for Starfield, but they're just publishing it. It's Machine Games that is developing this game. And for those who don't know, Machine Games has done like the resurgence, the comeback, the past 5 Wolfenstein games, like the New Order, New Blood, whatever they're called. So like over the past couple years, they've had these new Wolfenstein games that have been really well received, similar in the vein of the Doom and Doom Eternal. And so you give, yeah, I have that with my love-hate relationship is with Bungie as a Destiny player, but I feel it. But no, I mean, Wolfenstein has always been very Indiana Jones-esque, right? So, I mean, it makes so much sense that they're going to be getting an Indiana Jones game, and it looks like that it's not going to be too sci-fi, if that makes any sense. My big like, so essentially in the trailer, what the Great Circle is, because Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, what the Great Circle is it's the set of wonders of the world, where if you line them up perfectly around the globe, it makes a giant circle around the globe, and that's the Great Circle. And Cameron and I, we were talking about it, and he's like, I think it might end up being like a gateway to the Garden of Eden. And I'm like, oh, that would actually be pretty cool. And we need to get him on the show so we can talk about this. Daniel is your your religious consultant, and Cameron is mine.
Yeah.
So I wanted to have him on the last Narnia show, but he's like, dude, I can't read 7 books in a week. And I'm like, I know.
Yeah, they one of the guys, Lauren Connor, who's on WWE Pro all the time, he had an idea. I think it was him. It was either him or Script Doctor. I can't remember. They had an idea for the final Indiana Jones story. Would be that he would find the Garden of Eden, and he would ask to be the new steward of the Garden of Eden until mankind's ready to return, and so that way you could sunset the character.
Yeah,
but he's still having this archaeological adventure.
Yeah,
so
yeah, I could definitely see that. And that's honestly, you have 5 Indiana Jones movies, the 2 best ones and the best video game that they've come out with have all been related to Judeo-Christian mythology. Because you've got the Ark of the Covenant from Raiders. You've got the Holy Grail, which is the cup that Jesus used in the Last Supper for Last Crusade. And then the video game, which is the Staff of Kings, which is them finding the Staff of Moses.
Okay.
Yeah. And so...
Didn't one of the games do the Spear of Destiny? Or am I imagining that?
That was Wolfenstein.
Wolfenstein. Oh, it's Wolfenstein. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Which is why this makes so much sense.
Yeah, definitely.
I didn't. Whenever I first, because this was during an Xbox Direct, and I was like, I mean, that's cute that Xbox thinks that they can keep up with Nintendo and Sony, and I still think it's cute. But when they revealed this, and then I saw Machine Games, I'm like, okay, I see what you're getting at. This might be something.
Yeah.
And
I mean, Lucasfilm has to get one win, right? They have to get something right.
I mean, honestly, they've gotten Star Wars video games right, at least lately. Jedi Survivor was apparently better than the first, and I love Fallen Order. I haven't played it because I don't have PS5. But yeah. And Troy Baker voices Indiana Jones, and he sounds exactly like Harrison Ford. It's insane.
Good. Awesome. Yeah.
So now I want to get on to less positive gaming news. I thought I turned off the fade, whatever. But so Transylvania Adventure of Simon Quest. I just out of the blue saw this trailer, And if I'm being completely honest, it kind of pissed me off.
Well, it looks like I guess a Castlevania fan game that is not Castlevania, but it is Castlevania.
So let me compare. And this is something that they're selling this. It's not subtle at all. Let me compare this to one of my favorite games of all time, which is Bloodstained: Curse of the Moon. Bloodstained is obviously inspired by Castlevania, but
Mhm.
it still has some like original ideas. Like, I saw this trailer, I didn't see a single original idea in this trailer. I mean, it really just looked like that they're aping on Castlevania, and it was just off-putting to me because I'm like, whenever I see games like this, games like this, Bloodstained. I'm trying to think of another one, Mighty Number Nine, or Hollow Knight, Celeste. Anything that's inspired by like something else, I still want there to be some originality in this. I didn't see anything original in this trailer, and
Yeah.
even then, like the swinging from place to place. I mean, like, that's super Castlevania on the Super Nintendo. Um, there's a boss in the trailer that is straight up the Spore Spawn from Super
Yeah,
Metroid,
I saw that. Yeah.
and I'm like, and there are people like a lot of people like, oh yes, we're getting, we can't get Castlevania, we get this, and I'm like, I feel like more people should be pissed off about this because of the lack of originality. I
I
don't.
I feel like this, and it's difficult with video games. I feel like this might get a cease and desist. Just
I
the name Simon Quest is enough brand confusion from the. I mean, I know the Nintendo game came out 30 years ago or whatever,
Yeah,
Simon's Quest, but and I mean, the pixel artwork on the main character looks a whole lot like and the power ups look like they're straight out of Castlevania. I know you can't really copyright like gameplay, but the pixel work and the sprites, and I just feel like it's
it's way too close,
too close. Yeah.
and like it's just it's so off-putting. Like, I've at least shown you gameplay of like Bloodstained, right? Like, it is definitely just different enough.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't different enough, and if this happens and if this does well, I'm very concerned about what other people think they'll be able to.
And we just had, what's it called? Power World came out this past
Power
weekend.
World.
That's like a Power Ranger shooter, or not Power Ranger, Pokemon shooting game or whatever. So, that's a knockoff that I thought for sure we get struck down, and it didn't. So who knows?
The gameplay itself is different enough.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, and here's the thing: for me, Pal World is an interesting idea. I just wish that like the actual designs of the pals were a little more unique, because I'm looking at it and I'm like, oh, that's just Score Bunny, but like a leaf, like a grass type instead of fire type, or
Right.
that's just Mewtwo. I don't know. The one I will say one thing about Power World, since you brought it up. I think it's hilarious that so you can butcher pals for like resources and stuff.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you saw this. You know how like in Pokemon you can't catch trainers? Like whenever you try to throw a Pokeball at a trainer, it's like, oh no, you can't do that. Pal World lets you do that, and you can capture other trainers as pals, and their little Pokedex entry says, this is inhumane, but you can do that, man. You do you. And so anything in a pal ball, a pal sphere, not a pal ball, a pal sphere, is considered a pal.
Yeah.
And you can butcher pals.
Oh no.
So you can butcher other trainers. Like, it's okay. So here's the thing. Pal World is I have different feelings than I do from this.
Yeah.
Like it really just has to do with the pals themselves not having original designs, but everything else in Pal World for the most part is different enough for me. Plus, it's kind of teetering on parody. This this doesn't teeter on parody for me at all. Even if they're saying that this is a parody of Simon's Quest, it's not going to be funny. An 8-bit game like this has never made me laugh the way Tales of the Borderlands has made me laugh or something like that. So yeah, I just I saw that trailer. It was yesterday or Friday, and I'm like, oh, I got to talk about this because it shouldn't piss me off as much as it does, but it kind of does.
All right. So are we ready for the main topic, or you got anything else?
Oh, I got 2 more.
Okay. All right, 2 more.
Okay, it is official. It is official. Murder is legal in the state of California. For those of you who are not familiar with Norm Macdonald and O.J. Simpson, that is kind of the end of that. The Billy Mitchell saga, I hope this is as close as to O.J. Simpson that the gaming community gets. But I feel like we've all kind of been keeping track of this. And do you think that this is over, or do you think there's more to come?
Well, the lawsuit with Carl is still going on, but as far as Twin Galaxies and Billy Mitchell, I think this is the end of it.
How do you think the merchandise is going to go over?
So I'm wondering if that is part of their agreement.
That's what I was wondering.
Billy's like, okay, you show my scores, and you can't call me a cheater or whatever, and you can sell merchandise as long as it doesn't mention my name or my likeness about it, or there's some type of agreement there, I would assume.
Yeah.
I do like the T-shirt that says world record holder, though. I might have to get one of those.
I would. So we've got the Louisville Arcade Expo coming up here soon.
Real quick before we get into that, the news here is that Billy Mitchell was suing Twin Galaxies for calling him a cheater, for cheating at Donkey Kong, and that his scores were false, and that when Twin Galaxies was bought, they assumed that all these scores were real, found out they were fake. Billy Mitchell sued them, and instead of going to trial, they settled, and they said, okay, we will not recognize Billy Mitchell's scores at the current leaderboard. However, there will be an archive page that will show the old scores. And then they also started selling merchandise, kind of making fun of the situation.
Yeah. How do you think this bodes for Carl's lawsuit?
I mean, first off, Carl's in Australia, I think, or something.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure how that's going to affect. I mean, it shouldn't affect, but who knows what the rules are of him being Australia.
Yeah. Get him, Orc. Go off. Get him.
Yeah.
But so we got the Arcade Expo. We got the Arcade Expo coming up, and I really want to get the one that says not the one that says not arcade.
Yeah.
I want to get that one and wear that to the Arcade Expo. So I'm kind of terrified of something because this was maybe like 5-7 years ago, maybe a little longer than that. I was still wearing the fedora at the time, which I just admitted online that I used to wear a fedora. I wasn't one of those like r/atheist fedora wearers. I just wore a fedora because it made my head feel funny. But so they had Billy Mitchell come to the Arcade Expo and do like a whole like panel and everything to pictures, and I'm really concerned that they're going to invite him back now that all this is over.
I'm sure he still draws a crowd, even though he's a. I'm sorry, I won't say anything because yeah. Well, anybody that talks about Billy Mitchell usually gets sued by Billy Mitchell, and we'll just leave him alone.
But oh man, I'm so concerned that honestly, I'd love to wear that T-shirt in front of him. That
Oh, I'm sure. I mean, what was the guy's name that sadly is no longer with us? Was it Apollo? What was his name?
Oh yeah, Apollo. I don't remember like the full name, but I do remember him.
Yeah,
Apollo.
he showed up dressed as Billy Mitchell in his face and was, joking around with him. Of course, that led to a bunch of lawsuits, but
And that would allegedly led to.
Yeah, we gotta be careful on YouTube what words we use here. But yeah, he's no longer with us.
He's no longer, and there is a possible emotional connection between the fact that he's no longer with us and things that may have transpired with his content. But yeah, so I'm definitely curious how the Carl thing shakes out, because I'm concerned that Billy could use the fact that they settled as like evidence in his lawsuit against didn't some cartoon so that was Regular Show, and he was super mad about that, and he was going to sue them, and then I believe the judge was like, "You're not suing Cartoon Network. This is definitely parody."
Yeah.
Like, I mean, you got to think about, like, what if Tom Cruise could sue South Park? No way. Like,
right.
There's only one person that you're not allowed to parody on cartoons, and it's the best episode of South Park. But
okay.
Yeah. And then,
all right. So what's next?
More. All right, it's official. Murder is legal in the state of California. So I just wanted to bring this up because I thought it was funny. So Completionist has started to post consistently again, post every week. His most recent one is Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag, which is a game about pirates and plundering. And I'm like, you're not very self-aware, are you? But oh man, like I can't believe that. I mean, I guess in his position, you either quit or continue as business as usual. There's no in between. At least, I mean, originally there is the, "Hey guys, I'm sorry, I messed up. I'm going to, make this right." But he didn't make it as clear and concise as that. So at this point, you just he might actually be self-aware. Maybe. If you look at his views, he's definitely getting, whenever someone's got 1.53 million subscribers, but only several thousand viewers per video, that's a problem, especially when you're looking at sponsorships and whatnot. So
yeah, we'll see if he bounces back. A lot of the normal boots guys have had controversies and they've bounced back here or there. So we'll see.
So yeah, I just wanted. Honestly, I really just wanted to bring up the Assassin's Creed thing because I was like, oh, come on. Okay, so we're excited about this show because I believe we've been talking about this one for 2 months, longer, something like that.
Yeah. So this is a show I've been wanting to do because there are different cartoons that we've all watched in our childhood, and some of them stick around forever, like X-Men or Spider-Man or Looney Tunes or whatever. And then other shows are popular at the time, then they just kind of go away. And so we're going to highlight some of those. So I am older than Caleb. So the stuff I watched in my childhood are going to be from a different decade than what he watched. So mine are more from the '90s, and Caleb's I think are all from the 2000s.
Yes.
So, were you familiar with any of the ones I listed?
I was familiar with two of them. It was the first one that you sent me that I was not familiar with.
Okay. So, and I think this is the one we're going to start with.
Yes.
This one has just kind of fallen off the map, and it's really weird. So we're gonna go bring it up. This is Eek the Cat. It ran on Saturday mornings on Fox.
Oh, by the way, what you're gonna notice is it was a lot easier for me to find pictures than for me to find his pictures. Because by the way, this is actually the only picture. This is the only picture that I have for Eek because, like I said, things were happening last night. I know you sent me a bunch, but I don't have them right now.
Okay, that's fine.
I think this was the cover for the Super Nintendo game.
Probably.
So now, whenever you were talking about it previously, you said that this went through like several iterations. I did see. I looked up on Wikipedia. You had Eek the Cat and then Eek Stravaganza, but you said that there's more than that.
I think it was Eek the Cat, and then it was Eek and the Thunder Lizards, and then it became Eek Stravaganza. So this was created by Savage Steve Holland, who made one of my favorite movies, Better Off Dead, which is an 80s classic starring John Cusack. I don't know if I ever made you watch that one.
No. I've heard of it. It's that one. That one is not. It's not like no. I've never heard of that. I've definitely heard of Better Off Dead.
Okay.
I knew John Cusack was in it, but I've never seen it.
Okay, so we might visit that on a future show. That movie also featured Curtis Armstrong, who played Booger on Revenge of the Nerds, and he also did voice work on Eek the Cat. So this ran.
Explain to me the show because we got like
So this ran for 5 seasons, had 75 episodes. So this is not just like a small cartoon. This was a huge hit for Fox. The purple cat is named Eek. His catchphrase is "It never hurts to help." And of course, as soon as he helps somebody, a piano falls on him, or he gets hit by a car, or whatever. He's in love.
Smiling Friends.
You know, it kinda. His neighbor cat was this oversized pink cat named Annabelle, with his girlfriend. And anytime someone would show a picture of Annabelle, they go, "Oh, she's really fat." He go, "Really?" He would not realize how big she was. It was a running joke, and she had a dog named Shark Dog. That's the dog in the corner. So he's part shark, part dog. And one of the classic episodes is where Shark Dog gets he chokes on something like a wheel or something, and he keeps making this sound. It becomes like a rap star, and they keep playing this song, Shark Dog, Doggy Dog. And it's really funny. But, Eek is always trying to help somebody. There's reoccurring characters. There's a moose named Elmo that is always trying to raise money for his little brother Timmy, who's having an operation. And each week the operation changes to something else. Like, 1 week he needs antler transplants. Next week he thinks he's Madonna. There's just different jokes. It was a very funny show. And it's streaming nowhere. You could not find this. I mean, you can find YouTube episodes that people have uploaded, like bad quality. But streaming wise, it is just gone.
You said this was Fox, but
so I think the internet thinks that Disney owns Eek the Cat now, but I think it's one of those murky. Do they own it? Does another company own it? I don't know. But as the series went on, go ahead.
Was it ever in syndication? Was it on Boomerang or something?
It was on, I want to say like Jetix or Disney XD or something for a little bit, or maybe it was like didn't Family Channel air cartoons for a little bit? Fox Family or something.
I don't remember Fox Family. Like,
Let me see. I've got the Wikipedia page up. Hold on.
I guess whenever you say family, I'm thinking ABC Family, like Freeform.
Oh, ABC Family. That's what I'm thinking of. Yeah.
Okay. Which would still be, ABC Family. So that would still be Disney. So everything you mentioned just then was Disney. So maybe Disney does own it.
Yeah, you still run on Freeform, which was Fox Family. Yeah, I was right. Fox Family. Okay,
Fox.
which later became ABC Family. Yeah, it went through a lot of different owners.
Okay.
But as the show went on, they added a separate cartoon, the Thunder Lizards, where they were these dinosaurs that were secret agents, or like Solid Snake, like military agents running around doing missions.
And like Terry the Platypus.
It kind of and there was two cavemen that were always making. One was always making inventions. He was kind of like your SpongeBob type character, and the other one was always getting annoyed with his inventions.
And so we're talking about the same show, right?
Well, it was like a separate, like it was like Eek the Cat comes on the first 15 minutes. You get an Eek the Cat cartoon, and then you get a Thunder Lizard cartoon that was separate.
Oh, so like Dexter's Laboratory and Dial M for Monkey.
Yes.
And, okay, gotcha.
So by the third season, it had became Extravaganza. I don't know if it was the third season, but later on, there was a third cartoon called Clutter about a pile of clothes that came to life due to static electricity, and now kids were having adventures with this pile of clothes.
That was definitely an episode of Jimmy Neutron.
Yeah, well, Eek the Cat did it first. So yeah, just a very, very funny show that is just gone.
So you say funny. What are we talking? Like, was this kind of like Rocco?
Okay, your microphone's going crazy, so I don't.
Give me a second. Keep talking.
Yeah, they would. Okay, hold on. I'm hearing myself through your microphone. Hold on. Yeah, they would parody different things. Like they would watch a show called The Squishy Bears, which was supposed to be like the Care Bears. And the Squishy Bears, their names were, let's see, I just had it up. Let's see. 1 second. We're so professional on here.
How about now? Am I good?
Yeah, way better.
Cool.
The Squishy Bears were a spoof of Care Bears. They had Cozy, Puffy, Was, and Pierre. And Pierre spoke with a French accent, had a little beret on.
Okay.
So just goofy jokes like that. This was one of my favorite cartoons growing up, and
okay.
There's no merchandising for it. And so I did try to watch an episode recently on YouTube, and like he was at the mall, and someone dropped a criminal dropped a gun, and Eek picked up the gun and said, "Did you drop this?" And all the cops pulled guns on Eek and opened fire. And so I could kind of understand why maybe while it was appropriate in the 90s, I could see why Disney would be hesitant to air something like this, especially if all the fat jokes about Annabelle. They edit episodes of Bluey right now because they think it's offensive. So I could just imagine Eek the Cat would be edited like crazy.
Like what you're describing to me this is Smiling Friends.
It might as well be, yeah. I mean, he's just always trying to go around helping people, and it just gets worse and worse. It's probably not as dark as Smiling Friends can get, but yeah, it's
the cops opened fire on a purple cat.
But this was a great show.
Sure, maybe a giant frog didn't eat Jimmy Fallon, but
yeah.
I
think he does better when he's sober or when he's drunk.
Her name is Shrimpina. She'd be a shrimp.
I didn't know. I just assumed.
I thought it was one of those things that like where her name is Shrimpina, but it's not what you expect. What do you mean one of those? That doesn't happen.
I can't wait for season 2 of Smiling Friends. Oh, my son maybe watched Smiley Friends. He's like, you gotta watch it. It's those OD plays guys, and yeah, it was great.
I gotta be honest. I kind of like Smiling Friends. Cameron and my friend Willis definitely like it a lot more than I do. I find Oni plays. I think that's their off the cuff stuff is funnier actually.
Oh yeah,
Have you seen the one where they're so obviously there's Shipiphany, which is if you clone your girlfriend Shipiphany and then she dies, but then I start dating the clone of Shipiphany, are you mad that I'm dating the clone of your dead girlfriend?
yeah.
But then Cameron just showed me one where they do like the FBI's coming after this old lady for having a pet monkey.
Yes.
And she's like, I love my monkey, ma'am. Calm down. I will open fire. See, I find their off the cuff stuff to be funnier, but Shrimpina is like the funniest joke to me in that whole show. Let's see.
Yeah, so that Trippy Orange point out they got 5 seasons. I mean, that was like I said,
That's
75
true.
episodes. Where is this cartoon at? This is like perfect for syndication. It's just gone.
Yeah, I think Max even like now is 52, and that's still a miracle.
Yeah.
So when I was a kid, I had these 3 channels that I would watch constantly. This is when we had to like, know the numbers of the channels. We didn't have a guide. We just knew channel 29. We're going to Disney Channel. So I've got one for channel 29, channel 42, and channel 52. So let's head to channel
42 was Nickelodeon, 52 was Cartoon Network.
Oh, he got it. He got it. So for those of you who know, I'm a big Law and Order fan. This show probably has a little bit of something to do with it. Fillmore is a cop procedural about the hall monitors. And I think the best joke that someone can do like this is to play it completely straight. There is not a single there's not a gag in this show. There's not like the joke is that they're playing it all completely straight. That's the funny part about the show. So Cornelius Fillmore, he was a bad kid who was brought in by the ex-middle school hall monitors, and he got put on the straight and narrow, and he's got his partner Ingrid Third, and they're investigating crimes such as grand theft, biking, and who set off the stink bomb during the assembly. Like they play it as if like they're trying to find like the Boston bomber. It is
Right.
It is so funny. Are you familiar with this show at all?
No, I'm not familiar with any of the shows you listed. I'll be honest. I mean, I know of them, but I never watched them.
Okay.
This one lasted for 2 seasons, got 26 episodes, and I believe is streaming on Disney Plus.
It's not. That's why
it's not. Okay.
That's why. So that's why I have it on my list, because it's weird that this is a forgotten show because Disney has forgotten about it. It's not on.
Okay. Correction. It's airing on Disney Plus in the UK and in Ireland. That's why I'm confused. Okay.
Gotcha. But yeah, I love this show. And I mean, they had some guest stars on here. It stars Orlando Brown as Fillmore, which Orlando Brown was Raven's friend Eddie on That's So Raven. And I believe Ingrid is played by Tara Strong. But I mean, you got some heavy hitters. They had Frankie Muniz on this show like 3 times.
Yeah, I'm looking Horatio Sands,
Horatio
uh,
Sands.
Wendy Malick,
Yeah, yeah.
Jeff
I mean,
Jeff Probst. Yeah.
it's kind of, I mean, it's like the kids Law and Order, where like, you know, if you were on Disney, you might have been on Fillmore. um but I mean, it's a great show. And I wish they would put it on Disney Plus. I'd watch it so much. Fillmore, a little after my, you know, I gotta be honest, a lot of these shows are gonna be after your time at work, because this is this is the oldest show on my list. um, which let me know this. So, because you said you weren't familiar with any of the three, would this kind of be the one you're most familiar with? You know, if you had to pick one.
No.
Oh
What
no.
the one I didn't even know existed, and the other one I think was on Cartoon Network. I probably have maybe seen a few minutes of that one,
Okay.
but
Gotcha. Well, we'll get to channel 42 and 52 here in a second. But
okay.
this is channel 29. This is Disney Channel. Uh, and I love I love Fillmore. Oh, and you know, they you know how like they always go to it's the same coroner in Law and
Oh
Order.
yeah, yeah.
They have a similar person in this show. Um, do you know what it is? Do you remember the Law and Order episode of Community where it's like who murdered
Yes,
their?
yeah.
I mean, that episode, that is the show for 26 episodes.
Nice.
It's amazing. Um, so the next one for yours, surprisingly, I've heard of this one because of my mom.
Okay.
She quotes this show every day.
As she should. Yes.
She every day for the 27 years of my life, I've heard her say, "Oh, for crying in the corn, Bobby." She
So this
says
is
it all the time.
yeah, that was the moms
That
said
was
it
the
all the
mom.
time on here.
Yep.
Bobby's World. This is Howie Mandel's show. He voiced the character Bobby and also played the father on there.
Mm-hmm.
This lasted quite a while. This one had 81 episodes and ran for 7 seasons. Howie Mandel's talking about bringing it back. Who knows if it'll ever come back? This one is streaming, I think, on Amazon Prime.
Yes, it
Uh,
is.
but this was, I think he was like 4 years old. He had this crazy imagination. He was just trying to understand the world around him while dealing with his family. So like there's one famous joke where his mom reveals, oh, she's pregnant. He thinks they're saying peppermint and he doesn't understand it. He keeps walking around going, Mommy's peppermint. And it's, it's just a running, so we, my wife and I still say that joke all the time. He would also sing songs, and the songs were very funny. They're still stuck in my head. So I'm gonna try to sing one right now. I was at the bottom of the pool. I don't recall how long, but it must have been a while because I had time to write this song. So it was just a very funny show. He had an Uncle Ted. When I was a kid, I thought Uncle Ted was John Candy just because my brain would conflate the two. But, just in his favorite superhero was Captain Squash. And they always go, oh my gosh, it's Captain Squash. So it's just a very funny show and pretty innocent show. And it was like I said, very popular. Ran for like I said, 81 episodes.
7
So
seasons. Jeez.
yeah, back in the day when you had to hit cartoon, you could just crank out episodes, and they had to fill a spot on Saturday morning, so a lot of these shows would get multiple seasons. If
This
they
was
didn't cost too much.
Fox Kids. I wonder if I saw any of this when I was a kid as well, because I used to watch Fox Kids all the time with X-Men and Digimon, especially. I love Digimon. And so I wonder if I ever saw this in syndication.
entirely possible it ran on Fox Family, which again you didn't know existed. So I don't know. But this one has been all streaming quite a bit. It's on Amazon Prime. So this one you can still find. And if you ever watch Howie Mandel's podcast or live streams, the little spider behind him, Wembley, he has like a giant size one in the, or it was either that or a giant Bobby. I can't remember, in the office. So
The last name is generic.
yeah, no, it's generic, and everybody
Generic.
calls it, yeah, generic. Yeah, so generic. So that was a running joke I didn't quite get as a kid. They were always correcting how to say their last name.
You know what's hilarious? So like, Howie Mandel is like this larger than life comedian from like the 80s, 90s and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
I'm of the generation who first heard of Howie Mandel because of Deal or No Deal.
Right. Yeah, he totally changed his career around. Is because when I was a kid, he was on a hospital show, St. Elsewhere. So, he's had quite a career. He's even voiced Gizmo in the Gremlins movies. So yeah, Bobby's World, great cartoon that seems like the world has forgotten, and I think if they would, air it on Cartoon Network or Disney Channel or whatever, it would probably get more popularity back. But it's just strange how some of these cartoons just fade away.
What was the movie that? Because I grew up watching Deal or No Deal pretty much every day with my family, and Nana and Papa would come over. And then one time we were over at their house, and they're like, "You want to watch this movie with Howie Mandel from like the '90s?" I'm like,
Mhm.
"Sure." But it had like Savage, Fred
Fred
Savage.
Savage.
Yeah.
That is, what is the name of that movie?
He was like a blue thing.
Yeah, I know what movie you're talking about. I got, like, give me 1 second. I will tell you the name of it.
Little Monsters. That's
Little
it.
Monsters. I kept wanting to call it Real Monsters. I knew that wasn't right. Little Monsters. That movie has a crazy scene where, like, the bad guy kid like rips his face off or something at the end. It's a very traumatic scene for little kids. I remember that scene though, having the scene where the bully keeps messing with Fred Savage, so they replace his apple juice with urine and put dog food in the kid's sandwich, and he's eating it at lunch, and there's just this traumatic scene involving urine and dog food.
Oh, let's see. Oh, he was. And the guy who played the bully at one point was in Better Call Saul. So you see, kids, you drink some pee, and then you'll end up on a show that deserved an Emmy but never got one.
There you go.
But yeah, no. I'll be honest. Like, there's no reason that I should have heard of this show except because my mom quotes it every day. So no other reason why. So let's go ahead and change to channel 42, and we're going to talk about a show called Chalk Zone, which I assume you've never heard of. This is the one.
Well, now that I've seen that little blue and white guy, maybe I have seen this. When I just saw the kid on Wikipedia, I did not recognize it, but now it looks a little familiar. But yeah, this is not a show I'm familiar with.
Yeah, so we have Rudy, Penny, and Snap is the name of the blue guy. Essentially, it's about this kid, Rudy, who's a really good artist. And one day he is in detention for drawing like an unflattering cartoon of his bully. And so he's in detention, and he picks up this magic chalk. When he makes a circle, so he draws the blue guy, his created superhero Snap, and he comes to life. And then he draws a circle on the chalkboard, and it becomes a portal to the Chalk Zone. and then his friend Penny gets involved too, and it's just them having adventures in the Chalk Zone, and kind of creating the Chalk Zone too, because like every so often you're reminded that like the whole point is that they're going to the edges of Chalk Zone and creating more world. Um, and yeah, that's really what the show's about, is them just having adventures in Chalk Zone. Um, and the theme song goes way harder than it needs to be. Like, you ever have a show that's got like a theme song that like just doesn't match the tone of the show at all?
Yes, Jason the Wheeled Warriors, which I think we've talked about on here.
Yeah.
Greatest cartoon theme song of all time.
I mean, like the theme song to Chalk Zone is like the most metal song. Like it belongs in like Mega Man X. Like, it's got that kind of feel to it. And this is just a cartoon about them creating a chalk world. So there's actually got this it's got this one joke that has always stuck with me, where Snap is stuck in the real world for some reason, and so they're trying to figure out how to get him back into the Chalk Zone. And so he's at class as a foreign exchange student from Greenland, and the bully's like, Snap, if you're from Greenland, why are you blue? But yeah, I love this show. My Papa Monahan, who's the one that's helping us purchase, he actually used to watch the show a lot with me. This was like this and The Incredibles were like his two favorite cartoons, and he loves cartoons. So this one was just a lot of fun. And when I was homeschooled from like middle school onwards, but in elementary school, I used to draw Snap on like the board when I walk in just to see what would happen.
You never know. You gotta try.
Yeah, you never know. But yeah, that is Chalk Zone. I think this one went for like 4 seasons or something like that.
Chalk Zone ran for 40 episodes, 4 seasons. Yes.
Gotcha. But yeah, and unfortunately, this is a type of show that I think, kind of deserved a finale. But it was in that, Angry Beavers time where nothing got a finale because everything was in syndication.
Yeah. All right, what's next?
So this is your last one. This one I think is weird because I don't know if people forgot about this.
This one, they haven't forgotten. I was questioning whether I should put this one on there or not. It has been brought back twice as a live action show. But The Tick. The Tick was a very funny cartoon, a very funny spoof of superheroes. The Tick is a very naive, wholesome hero. He kind of reminds me of a Goku type character where he doesn't quite understand everything going on around him, but he just wants to do the right thing. And then his sidekick was Arthur, who was an accountant who found moth wings one day and decided to be a superhero. And they had all kinds of adventures. Yes, he is a moth.
I thought he was a bunny with wings.
That was the running joke on the show, is that they would call him a bunny with wings, but he is a moth.
Oh, okay.
He's the tick and a moth. Yeah, they're bugs.
It makes sense now.
Yeah, it's always like when you watch a cartoon for every day as a kid, and then you watch it 20 years later, and go, "Oh, that was the joke."
Do you know what Cameron and I saw the other day that we had? And honestly, it's kind of related to the Tick because I feel like the Tick could cross over with these characters. It would make sense. Cameron and I watched Mystery Men for the first time in like 15 years.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a joke that is it is so funny, and we didn't get it as kids. Whenever they're doing because we wanted to watch like the audition scene because we remember Dane Cook as the Waffler being really funny.
Mhm.
And then, hey, I'm PMS Avenger. I only work 4 days a month. Is that okay? I'm like, oh my god.
Yeah. Um, there's a great joke in the first episode where they're calling all the superheroes, and bipolar bear walks out and goes, "No, I don't feel like doing this today." He goes back in the house and shuts the door.
But yeah, I feel like the Tick would get along with the Mystery Men.
Yeah, I was thinking they had a crossover, but I'm thinking of Ninja Turtles. Ninja Turtles did have a Mystery Men crossover in the old comics.
Okay.
So, yeah, this is one I probably should have left off the list, but
We're talking about it now.
yeah.
So who in your opinion, who was the Tick's like arch nemesis? Because they make it seem like it was like the Terror or something like that in the new show, but I always thought it was the chair guy.
Yeah, I think it's Chairface Chippendale.
Okay. They probably just couldn't do that in live action.
I mean, they probably could now, but yeah. I don't know. The two live action shows were okay, but they've never quite caught the spirit of the cartoon.
I gotta be honest, I think that Peter Serafinowicz is such a weird decision for the Tick because I've always seen him as a very I mean, like he's like the British guy who's like in all the British shows, who's getting like all the British awards, and then he's in the Tick as the Tick.
Yeah, so I think this one is streaming on Hulu. It ran for 3 seasons, 36 episodes. It was on Comedy Central for a little bit. Yeah,
I want to say because the live action show was an Amazon show.
Yeah. But this is a great cartoon, and I know people talk about the live action one, but I feel like the cartoon gets forgotten sometimes. And maybe that's just me projecting, but yeah, what
I think is funny, I think it was either the very first episode, but it was at least the first episode that Chairface Chippendale appeared, where he was gonna like carve his name into the moon.
Yes.
Hold on, I'm holding back a sneeze. But he only got as far as CHA.
Yes.
And that is consistent throughout the rest of the show.
Well, I think it's the second episode. And then towards the end of the series, they find characters like Galactus, and he takes a bite out of the moon. So then there's a bite out of the moon and the CHA for the rest of the episode.
That's really funny.
And the thing is, I don't think Chairface, the word, would have fit on the moon as big as they were making the letters. So I was like, what was he actually doing?
Well, it's kind of like it's like going back to John Mulaney, where he's like, you ever like try to write happy birthday on a sign, you get too excited. You're like, H A P. Oh, I don't have enough room on here. Little P, then a little bit of Y. And then you think you learned your lesson, but you completely forgot what just transpired 2 seconds ago. B.
Yeah.
So the Tick is not one that I am super familiar with.
Yeah, but I want to say one more thing about real quick before we jump.
But I watched it. Yeah.
I think it's interesting that Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, they were inspired by the Frank Miller's Daredevil, and so was the Tick. And I've got the original issues of the Tick where it's very much more of a Daredevil spoof where he's fighting ninjas, and there's an electric character. I think her name is Oedipus. And there's Paul the Samurai, and he fights with instead of using swords, he uses like loaves of bread. And there's a great scene where the ninjas are supposed to be like the perfect like camouflage, supposed to just never see the ninjas, and they're all standing there just holding tree limbs. They're like all in a line, and they go away. We're hedges. Go away. Shh. You can tell it's just a line of ninjas just holding up tree branches. And, it's just that always cracks me up. So
I actually feel like the Tick would be a better parody of Frank Miller's Batman, like Dark Knight Returns.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah,
and you have I would just imagine Dark Knight Returns. You have like an old man Tick coming back. Arthur is, he's gone or whatever, and then you have like a Carrie Kelly taking over the role of Arthur.
Well, they did introduce Camilla towards the end. She was another person that had a moth suit. So that was Arthur's girlfriend towards the end. And they also introduced Speak the dog, who actually wasn't a dog. He was some type of rat. I can't remember what he was. Yeah, he had this dog for several episodes, and they took him to the vet, found out he wasn't a dog. Anyhow. This show was so funny. They did an episode called Heroes that was a spoof of cops. And there was a light bulb bad guy, like a big light bulb on his head, and the whole time they're filming, he has his cape on. They keep hearing something. Like the cameraman's like, "What's that noise?" He's like, "Nothing, don't listen." And they go, "I could swear I heard a pig squeal." And finally, they pan down, and he has a pig for a leg for some reason. He goes, "I don't talk about it. Just don't look down there." And by the end, he has to accept that he has a pig for a leg. He has like this emotional breakthrough about the pig and all this stuff.
That's really funny.
So yeah, The Tick, I love the show. I would love if they did more of the animated stuff, but who knows? The creator, Ben Edlund, went on to write Supernatural show episodes and Angel and a bunch of other stuff. So he had a pretty big career after this. So what's next?
So this is our last show. We're gonna change it over to channel 52. This was my favorite show as a kid.
Yeah, I've been on Fox this whole time. All my kids have been on Fox, so
I wanted to diversify. This is a show called Shaolin Showdown. And Shaolin Showdown, I mean, so I've gone back to it recently because I knew we were going to talk about it, and I'm like, I'll bring up Shaolin Showdown. I want to see what I remember. There's a lot of Mortal Kombat in here. There's a lot of Dragon Ball in here. And I'm just like, oh, this is where my taste came from. So essentially, there are 4 Shaolin warriors that are children that were, chosen to train under Master Feng and his dragon ally Dojo, who is probably a ripoff of Mushu from Mulan, but I like Dojo better, honestly. Dojo's actually played by Wayne Knight, which is really funny. So you just have Newman as a dragon throughout 52 episodes. I believe this one went for 3 seasons. It went for 2 full seasons, and then the 3rd season was a half season. This show, I think, was like the first show that I watched other than anime, because I was really big into Yu-Gi-Oh! And Dragon Ball at the time. But this was probably the first show that wasn't anime that had like a serialized format. Essentially, what the show is these 4 Shaolin warriors from left to right are Clay in the cowboy hat, Raimundo, Kimiko, and Omi. And then Jack Spicer, who is kind of like their comic relief foil bad guy who, every so often has a change of heart. That's him in the background. But they go around the world trying to find what are called Shen Gong Wu. And essentially there are these it's kind of like Jackie Chan Adventures, honestly, where
Mhm.
like you have the object and it does like a special like power or something like that. Um, and if two people touch it at the same time and they're going to fight over it, uh, they can declare a Shaolin showdown, and the challenger will decide what that showdown is. Sometimes it's a game of hot lava, or the floor is lava, like you can't touch the ground. Sometimes it's a race to save the damsel. Sometimes it's just a general fight, but the Shaolin showdown can be kind of whatever. Um, and you have to wager a Shengang Wu that you already have, and then you get to use that Shengang Wu in the Shaolin Showdown. So let's say you're gonna fight over the Eye of Dashi, which is like this necklace that can shoot lightning. Well, you've got to race to get it first. Omi, who's a little yellow guy there, he's always using the Orb of Tornami. Orb of Tornami is just an orb that shoots water, and it's like a hydro pump. And then one of the bad guys um, will use the Sword of the Storm, which is a sword that can shoot tornadoes. And using whatever you have in your ability to get to the Shengang Wu before the other person, and that's kind of like what the show was through the whole show. And that every character had their own um, episodes. And Raimundo, who is the one in the middle, Omi, who the yellow guy, he was like the poster child. He's the one that
Yeah, that's the character I recognized. Yeah.
But he doesn't go through a whole lot of character development. It's actually Raimundo who, over the 3 seasons, goes through the most character development. He betrays them to Wuya, who is the big bad evil guy of the first season, and then he learns the error of his ways. And then he's actually a rank below them for a little bit, which I think is pretty revolutionary for a children's show, because usually in a children's show, everyone ranks up at the same time. There was a point where Raimundo was a rank below everyone else because he betrayed them. And then eventually he catches up. And then by the end of the show, he's the one who's gone through so much development. He is actually the one that is chosen as leader to like protect the world. Because the whole point is like they're training to be Shoku warrior to protect the world from the Heilin side. And it's actually Raimundo, not Omi, who is kind of the poster boy, who is chosen to be leader, which I always thought was really interesting. And there was always kind of like a little thing between Raimundo and Kimiko, but this was a children's show, so they never like went farther than a kiss on the cheek every once a season or something like that. Omi was definitely the most popular character because he was the poster boy, and he was probably one of the funnier characters because he would get sayings wrong. He's like, "What are you doing? Are you pushing my arm?" "No, I'm pulling your leg." Or like, "Do you think you can do this, Omi?" "Oh, it's a piece of pie, no piece of cake." So he would always get that wrong. And the ironic thing is you think that because he got a weird voice and he's yellow, you think that he's a racial stereotype, but he's not. There are other Asian characters in this show, and they do not look like him at all. Omi's just a weird looking guy. And then as far as villains, the 3 main villains were Wuya, who was like this Heilin witch, who was like the first season bad guy. The second season bad guy was Chase Young, who was someone he used to be on the good side, but then he's like Virgil from Devil May Cry. I wanted more power, so and he was always like the best villain. He was the most interesting, the most nuanced, because he was the one who you always wanted to come back to the good side, but he never would. And then the third villain for the third season was Hannibal Bean, and he was a bean, like a bean. and his main Shengang Wu that he would use is called the Moby Morpher, where it's like these gauntlets that you put together, and you can like turn into whoever you want. So like you could like Moby Morpher and boom, I'm my brother or something like that. What he would do is he would do Moby Morpher, and he would just grow. He'd still be a bean, but he's like a giant bean. It was really funny. This was my favorite show growing up. We watched this every day on Cartoon Network. It was like on the Magoozy or something like that. Was the name of the channel block. I think it was like at 4:00. So we'd have school, and then 4:00 comes around. Magoozy comes on. I'd watch this, and then I'd watch Yu-Gi-Oh! GX, and then dinner time. So this was every day, and I loved the show. I went back and watched it a little bit. I think it still holds up, and the Disney XD reboot, Shaolin Chronicles, doesn't exist. I've never heard of it.
Same way I feel about the Goliath Chronicles, Gargoyle Season 3. Yeah.
Yeah. That doesn't exist. Because you've got all of this character development for each of the characters, and they regress back to their stereotypes. I would say probably the most interesting characters were Raimundo and Omi, because they're the ones that got the most to do. And then Clay and Kimiko were just kind of there. But it was fun to have a cowboy Shaolin monk. That's a lot of fun because he would use like a lasso in his fighting style. Which is totally a Mortal Kombat thing. Like,
oh yeah.
If you want your kids to be as into if you're like super into Mortal Kombat and you want your kids to get into Mortal Kombat, but they're not quite there yet, Shaolin Showdown's the way to go. I love Shaolin Showdown.
So those are our picks for forgotten cartoons. This is probably a topic we will revisit in the future because there's several more.
Oh yeah, definitely.
That it's interesting because there will be a cartoon that maybe it wasn't that popular, but ran for 52 episodes, and it'll be like your favorite show, and you're obsessed with it, and then it just goes away. Then nobody knows what you're talking about. It's just gone.
Let me try this. Have you heard of Kids Next Door?
Yes, I've heard of Kids Next Door.
Okay. That's a show that just disappeared.
Yeah. Well, that's because Cartoon Network became obsessed with Teen Titans Go, but that's a whole nother story.
Remember whenever Cartoon Network got obsessed with like, oh man, we got to do live action, like CN Real.
That we could have a whole show about Cartoon Network and how they got all screwed up after the Aqua Teen Hunger bombing scare, and how they fired everybody because of that. And the new president was like, let's make everything live action, and which was a direct violation of a commercial they used to air all the time saying, no matter when you turn on Cartoon Network, any time of the day, there will be a cartoon on, guaranteed forever. This will never change. And then like 5 years later, they're airing live action, movies, like really bad live action movies too. It wasn't even good stuff. So
there's one, Reanimated. I actually loved that one as a kid. I'll give them that one. And then like you turn on Cartoon Network and it's like, oh, Andrew WK, why are you here?
Right. So yeah, we'll probably revisit this one. What do we have on the for next week? Is next week the video game show we were talking about?
Yes. So next week is going to be similar to last week, where we were talking about upcoming movies. Well, next week is going to be games coming out. I think that'll be a more interesting conversation because there was not a writer's strike for video games. So those are actually coming out on time, possibly.
Yeah. So that'll be next week. We will we talk about that. If there's any kids shows or cartoon shows that you love, be sure to comment down below. Also, be sure to like and subscribe and share the stream. We still want to grow this channel. We've been having some videos here and there just going crazy. We don't know exactly why, and then other things get no views whatsoever. So it's YouTube is a wild animal.
I think we should just become a channel that strictly talks about Arcane. Rise of the Ronin looks really good, yes. But yeah, we should strictly talk about Arcane, and that is
Arcane and One Piece.
Arcane and One Piece.
Yep.
Welcome to Pop Arcane Shark, the pop culture show all about Arcane. Ironically, I don't. We can talk about Arcane, but we can't talk about League. Maybe that's our shtick. That's like our niche. Is like, yeah, we're gonna talk about Arcane, but not from the perspective of League of Legends.
Right. All right. So that's our show for tonight. So I've been Final Monkey.
And I'm Caleb.
We'll catch you next time in the Shark Pond.
See ya.